Okay, lesson 2, I want to get into some counting with you. Counting beats is pretty essential for musicians. You need to be able to do it. It's not very hard. It takes a little practice, it takes a little getting used to. Whether or not you're reading sheet music, you still need to be able to count, okay? I've found, however, that trying to teach somebody how to count without them seeing a piece of sheet music, even when they're not a very good sight reader, is very difficult to do. They need to see the sheet music and understand at least a little bit about sheet music. Now in the example here, I haven't made the sheet music very detailed or difficult. In fact, really I chose a note that was just the open G string. I could have chosen any note. It really doesn't even matter because it's not the note that matters here. It's the beat that matters, okay? But I want to go through some basics with you. In exercise 1, I start out by showing you just a few basic notations. The first one is a whole note. A whole note gets 4 beats. It would be like this. I'm going to count to 4 and then I'm going to play the note on beat 1 of the next measure. Alright? And with a whole note, we will let that note ring for 4 beats. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And that would be the end of that note. It would be the end of that measure on to the next note or the next measure. Okay? The next thing I have are 2 half notes. A half note gets 2 beats. Most music, most popular music, tends to be in 4/4 time. Not all, but most. And so that means 4/4 time, that means we have to have 4 beats per measure. And really these are just fractions, okay? So if a whole note gets 4 beats, half notes get 2 beats, therefore we need 2 half notes to fill a measure, alright? We'll do it this way. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so you see that I played a half note on beat 1, let it ring through beat 2. On beat 3, I played another half note and let it ring through beat 4. Okay? After half notes, we have quarter notes. Hey, this is all just fractions, right? 4 quarters make a whole. We have 4 quarter notes to make up one measure. It would be like this. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay? After quarter notes, we have eighth notes. The divisions just keep getting smaller and smaller. The way we count eighth notes is 1 and, 2 and, 3 and, 4 and. And we would play a measure of eighth notes like this. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1 and, 2 and, 3 and, 4 and. Okay? You need to be able to understand at least the counting part, if not being able to look at the music and read it. Alright? On the example, I showed you some eighth notes with what we call a beam across. Then in the next measure, just to show you, I showed you some eighth notes with what we call a flag. Okay? They're played the same. I set those eighth notes apart with rests just so the flag would show up, because if I put any other notes in, the beams show up automatically in the computer program. Okay? Okay, and the example that I showed after that, I'll play through it for you so that you can understand how it would be played and counted. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1 and 2 and 3, 4. 1, 2, 3 and 4 and 1, 2, 3 and 4. 1, 2 and 3, 4 and 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay? I just put that little example there just to give you a little bit of practice on that. Alright? It's helpful to you to understand these things. It's helpful to you to learn this. Go through it. Give it a try. Try to play that. Alright? It'll help you when it comes to strumming too, which is important. Okay, in exercise 2, I discussed 3/4 time. You will come across songs in 3/4 occasionally, and you need to understand how to count this. Obviously, 3/4, we've got 3 beats per measure. Okay? And it's sometimes a little tricky to understand 3/4. There's no whole note in 3/4. The whole note doesn't fit because it's worth 4 beats. In its place, we have something called a dotted half note. When you see a dot after a note, it increases that note's value by 1/2. If a half note is 2 beats, you put a dot after it, now that half note is worth 3 beats. A dotted half note in a measure of 3/4 essentially acts as a whole note. It fills the whole measure. Okay? So in 3/4 time, example 2, we've got a dotted half note. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. It would fill the whole measure. We have quarter notes. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Okay, so 1 quarter note on each beat. We have eighth notes. In this case, so there's only going to be 6 of them per measure. 1, 2, 3, 1 and 2 and 3 and. Okay? Now, you notice in the sheet music that I put there, you can also have a half note, and it's still worth 2 beats. All right? I will play this example for you so that you hear how it goes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2 and 3, 1, 2, 3, 1 and 2 and 3, 1 and 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1 and 2 and 3 and 1, 2, 3 and 1, 2, 3. Okay? It's helpful to get to know this stuff. You can learn how to count a little bit by just listening to your favorite band and trying to keep the beat, trying to count it. Here's another tip too. When you're listening to your favorite band, a lot of times if you listen to the drums, the bass drum is on beats 1 and 3, and the snare drum is on beats 2 and 4. Okay? That'll help you lock into where the beats are. And it's very helpful to learn how to count this way. All right?